Maggie Smith wasn't just Professor McGonagall or the Countess in Downton Abbey. Her career was a masterclass in versatility. Forget Harry Potter for a minute. We're diving into 6 hidden gems that prove Dame Maggie was one of the greatest actors of our time. For some millennials, Maggie Smith will always be Professor McGonagall. But for others, she's the strict, no-nonsense housekeeper from The Secret Garden. This was one of those movies that stuck with you as a kid. Haunting, mysterious, and weirdly gothic for something that wasn't technically a horror film. Remember that electroshock scene? Yeah, it freaked us all out. And Maggie's severe performance in the cold, eerie setting of the mansion gave the film this ambient spookiness that just hits different. It was more about atmosphere, and for many, it was our first taste of Gothic storytelling. Before Downton Abbey, there was Gosford Park, another slice of English aristocracy, but with a much darker and more grounded tone. Written by Julian Fellowes, yes, the guy behind Downton, this one was all about murder and class tensions at a country estate. Maggie's character may remind you of her role in Downton, but this movie doesn't have the fairy tale charm. It's gritty, layered, and full of subtle jabs at the upper class. Plus, the cast is stacked, featuring a who's who of British acting talent. While Gosford Park isn't a traditional whodunit, it's more about vibes and power plays than solving the mystery. This was Maggie Smith's big breakout role, and she absolutely crushed it. The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie is about an eccentric Scottish teacher who inspires her young students with extravagant ideas about love and life. But it's not all sunshine and roses. Her romanticism clashes with the conservative headmistress, and things get messy. Maggie's performance was so powerful, she won an Oscar for it, and it's easy to see why. The role was first offered to Vanessa Redgrave, but she turned it down, leaving Maggie to deliver one of her most iconic performances. Imagine 5 famous literary detectives and their sidekicks all being invited to a mansion to solve a mystery. Sounds serious, right? Well, not quite. Murder by Death is more of a satire than a straight-up parody, poking fun at both the mystery genre and its authors. Maggie's role is part of an all-star cast that includes Peter Sellers, David Niven, Peter Falk, Alec Guinness, and even Truman Capote. While it doesn't take itself too seriously, this is one of those comfort films that feels like a warm blanket on a rainy day, especially if you're a fan of old-school whodunits. You'd never guess Maggie Smith was only 56 when she played the 92-year-old Granny Wendy in Hook. That's how good she was at embodying these elderly characters, even when she was nowhere near that age. This movie has a special place in millennial hearts, with Robin Williams as Peter Pan and Dustin Hoffman as Captain Hook. For many of us, Hook was part of our childhood, but it hits different now as adults. Maggie's Granny Wendy brought a warmth and wisdom that grounded the film in its more chaotic moments. It might be divisive, but for a lot of people, this one's a classic. This movie didn't get a lot of love from critics, but it's got a certain charm that makes it feel underrated today. Based on the book of the same name, it's a mix of whimsy, nostalgia, and tragedy. One of those films that juggles tone shifts like a circus act. Maggie plays one of the Yayas, a group of Southern belles with a whole lot of baggage. While Roger Ebert wasn't a fan, calling it rubber-stamped from the same mold, many viewers found the emotional depth and quirky characters worth the ride. If you haven't seen it, give it a shot. It might surprise you.